Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Quite a bit going on for today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days, primarily in today's video. But we've also got some quite cool and wet weather coming up on Saturday, so we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at what's going on right now. It is turning cooler and fresher across the country after all the heat and humidity over recent days. So quite a bit to cram in. I'll get on with it in a second. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links. You'll be helping us to pay for the website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads for both pages. They open the content when you watch them. They close back up again. It does help to pay for gasworthy.com, so thanks so much for getting involved. And thanks for doing that. Really wet morning across the north of the country this morning. A little bit more extensive than I was anticipating, but a very wet morning through Scotland and coming down into the far north of Northern England. Not much elsewhere, but this is a cold front, and even though it hasn't brought rain to England and Wales, it has brought a drop in the temperature. So let's have a look at the dew points. You remember we looked at these a couple of days ago, and they was up to around 20 degrees, but a lot cooler now with the dew points. This is a reflection of humidity and moisture in the atmosphere. Now, instead of the 18s, 19s and 20s that we had a couple of days ago on this image, we're down sort of 12s, 13s, 14s, across the country, so a much cooler, fresher air mass. Still fairly warm air mass, but a much cooler air mass compared to what we've had recently, indicating that indicated by that drop in the dew points. However, it has been a very, very warm start to September. So this is the Central England temperature provisional up to yesterday, up to the 7th. And look at this, we stand at 17.4 right now, which is an anomaly of nearly 3 degrees above average, 2.8 above average, provisional up to the 7th. Now, the warmest month of the summer was August with a CET of 17.0. That was an anomaly of 1.2 degrees above average. So actually right now, we are above the warmest month of the summer. And fairly significantly so, actually. If we was to stay at this level, at 17 degrees plus, through to the end of the month, then that would be quite a remarkable September. It would be easily the hottest September on record. Of course, it's going to be much harder to sustain this as the month goes along. And actually, we are seeing signs, I think, as we go through to the second half of September, that we may be turning into a more autumnal type weather pattern. To be honest, I think we could be having a month of two halves here, with the first half particularly warm, and then the second half that's reflecting much more autumnal type conditions. So we might get a bit of a CET collapse in the second half of the month. That would be quite entertaining to see it dropping like a stone. But we'll have to wait and see. It might not be that dramatic, but I think the second half of September is likely to be quite a bit cooler than the first half. Talking of cooler weather, we've got a particularly cool and wet day coming up on Saturday. So going to have a cold front strung out. On this chart, the cold front is somewhere through here. Cold front going to be strung out across England and Wales, and it will be lasting through much of the day. So this is a precipitation forecast for Saturday. Really wet at 6 o'clock in the morning across the bulk of England and Wales, not quite into the extreme southeast, and just clearing parts of northwest England and North Wales as well. Now through to midday, so this is throughout the whole morning on Saturday, there's very little progress made with that cold front. So anywhere from southwest England through into the Midlands, into some central southern parts of England, up in towards Lincolnshire. It looks like it'll be pouring with rain probably all morning on Saturday. That's quite heavy rain too, and even into Saturday afternoon that rain is still there, albeit it is pushing a little bit further onto the eastern side, more into East Anglia, South East England. It still looks quite wet even at 6 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, particularly through parts of the Midlands and Lincolnshire. Now, these are the temperatures we're looking at on Saturday. So the far southeast, places like Kent and Essex, perhaps up to around 21, 23 degrees, so still quite warm there ahead of the rain. But you see that for much of England and Wales, it's a lot cooler. Temperatures down into the mid-teens Celsius, 15, 16, 17 degrees through Wales and Midlands into Lincolnshire, where we've got those persistent outbreaks of rain. It is going to feel notably cool, autumnal, I dare say, and pretty miserable. Certainly will be a better day, though, down in the south. So the weather next week to 10 days is looking, well, it's looking quite warm again to start next week. We'll have another push of warm early next week down in the southeast, but that could be the finish of it then, and we could start to move more definitively into a westerly flow. So these are 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts next week to 10 days. Got the ECM to Earth here on the top, and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by the jet stream running above. Mean flow charts for the next 10 days, so this is going to take us to around the 18th of September. ECMWF shows the ridge, which has been bringing quite a lot of warm weather, gradually receding away to the northeast as the tight lines, which is the jet stream, starts to reassert itself off the Atlantic, with jet stream doing something like that. So the ECMWF is implying as we get through towards the middle part of September, we're probably turning more unsettled and probably turning cooler as well. The GFS still keeps this ridge clinging on to the east of us, so the GFS is warmer than the ECMWF. The jet stream is being suggested to be going to the north. That's based on the midnight run of the GFS. It has changed. I'll show you the charts from the 6 o'clock run in a second. The charts are chopping and changing run by run at the moment for this middle part of September. That's usually indicative that there's some sort of pattern change going on. And I've got a feeling this is moving more towards autumnal type conditions beginning to win out as we get through in towards the middle part of September. However, we have got one more push of very warm weather to come early next week. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Red line here is 30-year temperature average. Still just about significantly above average now, but the drop in temperature is coming through. It's turning cooler and fresher, so we're back down towards average by tomorrow, and they're not greatly deviating from the red line as we go through into the rest of the week. The weekend, however, does see, or start of next week, end of weekend and start of next week, does see a push up in those temperatures, particularly down in the south. There is quite a bit of scatter here, so not all members are pushing up temperatures even next week. There are several ensemble members that are keeping it fairly cool really into next week. But I think we will get one final push of temperatures early next week, but then there is quite a definitive signal there for things to cool off through the second half of next week. The date's on the bottom, so this is 15th of September, mid-month, just here, and by that point there is quite strong agreement between the GFS that we are going to lower those temperatures over a more sustained period in the second half of the month. Fairly good agreement that we do that. Although it is the extended range of the GFS and the GFS ensemble, so has to be some doubt about it. But that's certainly the way the model is trending. Temperature anomalies for next week, going from the 8th to 16th of September, still significantly above average, and this takes into account that cooler weather we've got coming up over the weekend as well. Precipitation anomalies, bit of a mixed bag, so some central parts coming out drier than average. You see there's a swathe of slightly wetter than average conditions through parts of southwest England towards the Midlands and East Anglia, Lincolnshire. That almost certainly is Saturday's rainfall. And also western Scotland, Northern Ireland coming out a bit wetter than average as well. So quite a bit of variation, and it does indicate, I think, that away from Europe, where it is very significantly drier than average still through the next week, things are just starting to turn a little bit more unsettled, really, for the UK and for Ireland as well. And even down towards Spain and Portugal, a little bit more unsettled here over the coming week. Just indications that pattern is changing a little bit. So we go through into Monday with the GFS, and we've got another area of low pressure out to the west of us. Just here, quite a significant feature. The ridge is still there to the east of us, to central parts of Europe, and that's turning winds back into south again. So this explains the rise in the temperatures again through the early part of next week. We go through to Tuesday, and we're bringing a front across the country, and it's coming to quite warm air, so this does imply there is at least the risk, perhaps of some thundery weather. Upper air temperatures are very warm, if not hot again, through the early part of next week. So I think easily back into the mid to upper 20s Celsius across southern and southeastern parts of the country by Tuesday next week, back into the 80s Fahrenheit yet again. But then go through to Wednesday, and that warmth is being pushed away to the east of us as the flow turns into the west, and then it looks like we see quite a drop in temperature coming through. So see the upper air temperatures, on the upper air temperatures, we're losing that very warm weather to the east, turning quite a bit cooler from the north and west once again. And then the second half of next week, as I say, it's chopping and changing from run to run, and this is significantly different from the midnight run of the GFS. This is the 6 o'clock run. This is significantly different from the midnight run, which was pretty warm and mainly dry for the second half of the week. But this run wants to bring low pressure in off the Atlantic and turn it quite a bit more unsettled through to the end of next week. This is Friday, 16th of September, low pressure firmly dominating, quite cool air coming in from the west as well, and then that cooler weather continues into the weekend of 17th, 18th of September. Winds are in from the west, we're bringing showers to the north, and the main thing is that it is quite a lot cooler, and that carries on beyond day 10, actually, with this low pressure to the northwest of Scotland, bringing these westerlies through. We've lost that sort of southerly influence. The ECMWF is similar to that, so early next week, again, we're bringing up that push of southerly winds, so it's going to be very warm, if not hot, down in the south through the early part of next week. But we go through to the middle part of next week, and that heat is moving away as we bring cooler air down from the north and from the west as well. Through to the second half of next week, it turns more unsettled, low pressure developing around the country, bringing showers or longer spells of rain and cooler air coming through as well, with this trough of low pressure turning the winds into the northwest. And we finish up on day 10, which is sunny 18th of September, in this cool northwesterly wind. It looks showery, it looks a lot cooler, there'll be an autumnal feel in the air. Upper air temperatures are dropping down as well. So we've had this notably warm start to September. Really has been exceptionally warm actually down in the south for September. It's going to be cooler over the weekend. It will feel more like autumn through Saturday across parts of England and Wales, where it'll be very wet and temperatures will be quite dismal. But early next week we'll get another push of heat coming into the south. So summer hasn't finished with us yet. There's another push to go early next week. After that, I think we're edging more and more in the second half of the month towards a cooler and much more unsettled type weather pattern beginning to set up. So perhaps September will turn out to be a month of two halves. Exceptionally warm in the first half, something a lot more autumnal in the second half. That is speculative, we'll have to wait and see. But that is the way things are trending, I think, this morning. Well, I'll be doing JMA Friday tomorrow, having a month-ahead look ahead with the Japanese and CFSB tomorrow, so come back for that. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.